Welcome. This is the Housing and Living on Campus information session. I'm going to give it a few moments before we officially begin, just as people start joining the webinar. So just a few moments. Hello, everyone. For those who are joining us, we're just going to give it a few moments before we officially begin the presentation. Again, this is the Housing and Living on Campus information session. Once again, everyone, welcome to the Housing and Living on Campus information session. I'm just letting folks kind of trickle in before we officially begin. So, thank you for those who are joining us. We're just waiting a few more moments as people begin to trickle in before we officially begin. Right, so it does look like we are slowing down a bit. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Housing and Living on Campus information session here at Chapman University. My name is Jamie Gutierrez. I'm the Associate Director of Residence Life and First Year Experience. I oversee our new student orientation program and our first year residential communities. I'm also going to have my colleague introduce herself, who will be presenting with me here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Zamora. I'm the Assistant Director for Operations here in the Office of Residence Life and First Year Experience.
All right, so let's get started. So what we're going to cover today, our first year students that arrive to campus with us are assigned in living learning communities. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that is and what we call it. We're going to go over our housing options for first year transfer and continuing students. So once you enter after your first year, we'll go over what those options are available to you. Health and safety here on campus, and then we'll do an overview of some of our campus amenities that are available to students for use. And then at the end, we actually have a few students for a student Q&A panel. You'll notice that we actually do have a Q&A box where you can go ahead and drop your questions in that box as the presentation is going on. We have people on the back end answering those questions. And then if there's a question that we think is suitable for our student panel, we will go ahead and answer that question live. So what we won't cover, we're not going to talk about what it is like living in Orange. We're going to briefly cover kind of the surrounding area, but we're not going to go into depth for that. We're also not going to go into depth of student involvements or student engagement on campus. We're really focusing on student housing. So if you'd like to go to other virtual information sessions, you can go ahead and scan that QR code for those virtual sessions. So again, we're not going into the deep dive of living in Orange or any sort of student involvement or student engagement on campus. So housing. So for us here at Chapman, we believe that there are benefits to students while living on campus. Living on campus contributes to academic success. Students, specifically in their first year, are housed again by their major or minor, and I'll talk a little bit about this later on in the presentation. Also, living in close proximity with your peers, you're able to connect very easily with students on a variety of academics, whether that's studying, group projects. It really helps in the ease of that. Living on campus enhances connections and community on Chapman campus, so really helping students to integrate and find that sense of belonging here on campus. Safety, we have safety mechanisms here at Chapman that help students be their best self. I will talk a little bit later on what safety specifically looks like. And then, of course, Chapman resources and amenities. Access to those while living on campus is something that students can benefit from. Just as a reminder, if you are coming to live with us in your first year, we do have a 3-year housing requirement for first-year students. Chapman housing is optional for transfer. So again, if you are an incoming first-year student, you will be required to live with us for 3 years. So our living learning communities, these are only for our first year students. Transfer students we place based on availability in any of our continuing student housing options, which Amanda will go talk a little bit more later. But your residence hall is a living learning community. And so we basically assign incoming first year students based on what we call your fenestra, which is the living learning community. So that is with people in your academic major or college. So if you are a business major, you are living on a floor with other business majors. The whole building isn't necessarily that particular college or area of study. It is by floor. So while you might live on a business floor with business, accounting, or economics students, across the hall, you could live from political science majors or any of the arts and social sciences, or maybe a floor below you is a group of Dodge students. So really getting mixture in the community, but your specific floor is your living learning community. So how to get started if you want to live on campus. We're not going to go in the nitty gritty of this today since it's only the fall, but if you were to commit to Chapman, there is an application process for living on campus. So if you're an incoming first year student or transfer student that is interested in living on campus, you first need to apply to housing. Those specific dates will be available in the next semester and information provided when you do receive your admit packet. Roommate pairing. So for first year students and transfer students, we actually pair you with your roommate. We utilize the housing questionnaire that you'll fill out on your application. So I always encourage students to be as honest as possible on this questionnaire. If you're an early bird, note that you're an early bird. If you're aspiring to be an early bird and maybe are not so much an early bird, I wouldn't recommend putting that you're an early bird because you may very well end up with someone else who is an early bird, and there could possibly be some conflict in that. Parents, please do not fill this out for your student. It's very, very important that students fill this out. Also for high school students, maybe thinking a little critically about what habits might change when I come to college. So for example, right now, maybe you have a 0 period before your first period. So you're waking up at 6:30 a.m. to make sure that you need to get to school on time. When you come to college, you're able to choose your classes and create your schedule. So if you're not an 8 a.m. person and you're like, ugh, I don't want to take 8 a.m. class, the likelihood of you being able to not have to do that is pretty high, obviously, depending on what classes look like. But again, really think critically about how those habits might change. And then, of course, move-in and orientation is that first week that you get to start your Chapman experience and journey. For first year students, move-in traditionally happens the Tuesday before classes begin, and that also kicks off orientation. And then for transfer students, it usually happens with move-in the Wednesday before classes start, with orientation beginning on Thursday. We also have parent programs for both first year families and transfer families, but more details again will be shared next semester.
Okay, so I'm going to take over here to talk a little bit about your housing options. For first year students, we have 5 on-campus housing communities, and those are located all in the residential area of campus. If you've been on campus, you can kind of see where our residential area is kind of set aside a little bit from the main campus. So that's where our residence halls are for first year students. And then for continuing and transfer students, we have 6 Chapman-owned apartment buildings on and off campus. So off campus is going to mean anything that's not directly here on Chapman's main campus area, but off campus or off-site properties that we have that we manage. We do have Chapman shuttles that run back and forth to those areas. So it's not like if you are living in one of those that you're kind of stuck out there. Shuttles are running constantly to campus so you can make sure you get to classes. If you live in one of those communities, you don't have to worry about driving back and forth. All right, so our residence hall rooms, most of our residence hall rooms are going to be triples, so please anticipate that you will be placed in a triple room. Each room will have their own bathroom or shares a bathroom with another room. So gone are the days like when I went to college where you had a community bathroom down the hallway that you share with 30 of your closest friends. You have your own bathroom in your room, and if you are in a suited room, that means you share the bathroom with the room next door. When 2 rooms do share that bathroom next door, there's going to be a max of 2 students per room. So there'll be a total of 4 people that will share that bathroom. We don't have anything that has more than that sharing the bathroom. So it's going to be 4 people at most sharing the bathroom in suited rooms. And then if you're in a triple, then it's just the 3 of you sharing one bathroom. All right, so we're going to take a look at some residence hall rooms so you can kind of get an idea. We really allow students to kind of use their own creativity and imagination to kind of make the space their own. So while we will set up rooms in a configuration that makes sense and kind of most students will use, once you're in the space, you are able to move the furniture around however you'd like to configure it. You're able to decorate however you want to. So these are just some examples of some of our first year residence hall rooms. You can kind of take a look to see how some people have utilized the space in different ways. This is one of our Moreland rooms. So in Moreland, rooms are going to be doubles and are suited. So in our North Moreland rooms, they're suited with the room next door. In South Moreland, they just are just the 2 people in that room that share the bathroom. So this is the North Moreland rooms. You can kind of see how the student has decorated that. Super cute and the way they decorated. This is one of our first year rooms. I think this is probably, so this will be a triple room. And again, you can see that how the students are configuring the space. We don't allow for students to loft the bed. However, we can raise the bed up. And so most of the time when students arrive to campus, they will see that we have raised the beds to the highest point that they can be raised. And then if you decide once you get here that you'd prefer it to be lower than that, we can certainly drop it. But we raise it enough so you can kind of see there that we have a dresser that can fit underneath it. So you can use the space underneath the bed for additional storage, or if you want to move your dressers, if you have the short dressers, they can go directly underneath the bed. And again, this is another Northmoreland room. So you can see again how they use the space here. And then again, you can see underneath the beds when we've raised them to their highest point. So again, students are using under bed storage options down there for you to use. And again, configuring the space however they want to. And again, you can kind of make the space your own. What we ask is that you don't do any movement until all the students have arrived to the room. That way you can kind of decide between the 3 of you how you'd like to configure this space. So we ask that you just don't do that until everyone can kind of come in, see the space, and have an agreement on how they want to set up the space. And then throughout the year, if you want to make changes, you are certainly welcome to do that. And then this is a Sandy room. So you can see here, one of the beds is raised up and one of them is lowered. So again, we can kind of configure this space however you would like to. So if you decide that maybe you want your bed raised, but your roommate does not, that is totally fine. And we can do that as well. But again, we will set them up usually at their highest point. We can drop that down if you would like to. So these are some of the spaces that we have for that are community spaces in our buildings. This one is the Davis Community Center, which is kind of where our office is located right below us. There's a huge study lounge down there. We've got new furniture in there, so you can kind of see it's a really nice space for students to gather, do work. We have some quiet study space down there as well. So these are located throughout the community. This one is one of our larger ones here in the Davis Community Center. And then this is one of our first year spaces. I believe this might be a Prolly room that are a study lounge. And these all also just got new furniture as well. So students will kind of move this around. As you can see, a lot of the tables are mobile. They're on wheels. A lot of the chairs are on wheels. And a lot of the furniture can be moved around. So if you are going to be meeting with a group and you want to move that space around to kind of make more sense to your group that you're meeting with or your study group, you can definitely do that in those spaces. And then this is one of our laundry facilities. So all of our buildings will have laundry facilities. The good news is that laundry is free here. So you don't have to worry about bringing quarters like I had to do or bring a card that you have to load with money. So they're all free. We have some larger laundry rooms that can sometimes students, there's one in the Henley basement, and Henley has a fitness center as well. So a lot of times students will put their laundry in and then work out the gym while their clothes are being cleaned. So you can certainly do that. Others will be in their building. There might be some on the hall that might just be like one washer, one dryer per hall or per floor. So they're all kind of set up in a different way, but students can kind of do laundry wherever they want to. So if they find a space that they like, we have a large one downstairs from us here. So if you wanted to utilize the study space downstairs while you're doing laundry, that we see students do that all the time. So again, they're really conveniently located to all the residential areas. And then you can kind of just get some ideas of what the residential areas look like. This is the Randall Dining Commons right here, located on that first floor, right there where Jamie's pointing. That will be the outdoor patio for the dining facility. So that's located on the back side of our Sandview Residence Center. That's where students will go to have their meals. We also call it the CAF. So that's where that will be located. And then this is just another view of the residential area. So again, as I mentioned, it's kind of separated out from the main part of campus. So there's kind of this walkway here that kind of takes you back and forth from main campus. So it's pretty busy constantly with students kind of walking back and forth. So that's just another kind of glimpse of what that looks like. So these are the housing costs. Now, these were the housing costs for this year. Our housing rates do go up by a percentage pretty much every year. I think it's around 3% to anticipate a cost increase per year. So our residence hall rooms, and it doesn't matter which building you're in for our first year students, you all are billed the same exact rate. So we bill by the semester. So each semester your student would be billed $6,178 per semester. And again, these are this year's rates. And then also for first year students, you do require a meal plan. Since residence hall rooms do not have kitchen facilities to cook your own meals, you have to be on the residential meal plan. So that's an additional $3,041 per semester again this year. And then costs are for 9 months. So our housing license agreement goes from the first part of the school year in fall, and it goes until the end of the spring semester. So that's that 9 month period. And that includes all your utilities and includes Wi-Fi, water, electricity, and again, laundry facilities and those things. And we also, if you do qualify for financial aid does have housing grants available as well. So that's something that you should discuss with financial aid if you qualify for that, because that also can help. And usually that amount will go towards the cost of the meal plan. It pretty much offsets that cost of the meal plan. If you are a incoming transfer student, or if you're just curious about what happens after your first year in Chapman, these are our Chapman units that we have available for our continuing and our transfer students. And these are all apartment style residents. So we have Chapman Court, which is our newest building, just opened 2 years ago, Chapman Grand, and Panther Village. Those are kind of our located off-site from here. So those will utilize the shuttle bus to go back and forth. Glass Hall, and while it is a first year building, the center tower of Glass has apartments. So that's where continuing students live. Davis and Harris apartments are also, along with Glass, located here in the main residential area of campus. And the K is an apartment complex that is located right by Dodge College. It's really convenient to Dodge as well as Crean. It's also convenient to the dance school, but it's also just a really nice building, located a little bit off site, but still close enough to campus to walk to anything you might need to. So these would be all options for students who are living as continuing students. So once you pass your first year, you can select into any of those buildings that we just saw. Oh, there goes my light. And then also, you can also, as an incoming transfer student, be placed in any of those buildings, and it really depends on space availability. So living on campus, again, as I mentioned for the meal plan, our first year students are required to be on the residential meal plan. And you select a combination of meals at the Randall Dining Commons and Panther Bucks. So what that means is all the meal plans cost exactly the same amount. What differs is the amount of meals you have per week versus the amount of Panther Bucks you have per week. So if you just, again, select the lowest meal plan, which is 10 meals a week, you'd have the highest amount of Panther Bucks. Panther Bucks are basically like a declining balance, if you want to think of it that way. So it's an amount that we load onto your ID card, and you can swipe it at any of the resident or the dining establishments on campus. So anything that you would typically use for your debit card for or use cash for, you can use your ID card and use Panther Bucks to pay for that. So like you can go to Starbucks, you can go to Jamba Juice, you can grab a bagel before class or go to Qdoba, and that's all can be used with Panther Bucks. So the more Panther Bucks you have, the least amount of meals you have in a dining hall and vice versa, but they all cost the same amount. So you have to decide what's going to be the best for you. We do have within the first 3 weeks of classes, you're able to change your meal plan. So if you start off in a 10 and you're like, you know what, I'm going to be eating more meals in the dining hall than I thought. I really want to up that meal plan to 14 or 19 even. You can do that within the first 3 weeks of each semester. You can make a change to your meal plan. After that first 3 weeks is done, then you're pretty much set with that meal plan, but you can make changes the following semester if you'd like to. And then the CAP does a really good job of providing options for students who might have allergies or might be vegetarian or vegan. They do a really good job of providing a lot of different options for students. And we also have a really good chef here that will work with students. So if there's something specific that you might need for a dietary reason, you can work with a chef to make sure that what your needs are, we can take care of.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about campus and residence life safety. So there are only 2 campus departments that are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and that is public safety and residence life. And so we work very closely with public safety to make sure that our residential spaces are safe. We have full-time professional staff members that live in the residence hall and the apartment communities. So these are folks who do this for a living. This is their full-time job. In that building, depending on the area. So if you're in one of our offsite properties, we also have graduate level student staff that help support students in the building. And then we have students, resident advisors, who also are there as a means for support in the building. All of the individuals I listed actually serve in an on-call duty rotation. So if there is some sort of emergency or student support that's needed outside traditional business hours, we have someone who is able to support. Obviously, if it isn't an emergency, public safety is always the number we encourage students to contact. Public safety actually works very closely with our Orange Police Department, our Orange Fire Department, and since we have properties in the city of Anaheim, Anaheim Fire and Anaheim Police Department, just to make sure that if needed, they can also support our communities. So it's a very well-oiled machine when it comes to student support and safety. Public safety also facilitates Operation Safe Ride. So this is available for students to request a ride, usually at like later hours in the evening, to get a ride somewhere if they need it. Public safety will also provide an escort if needed, but that of course is dependent on what the current like load of the office looks like. And if there's an emergency, obviously their resources get pulled to the emergency. But we are here to support and make sure that students are as safe as possible. A little bit about on-campus student wellness. So we do have a health center on campus. They are traditional Monday through Friday hours. So if a student needs assistance outside of that, there is an urgent care that isn't too far from campus. Again, if it is a emergency health related situation, we obviously call public safety and get paramedics on site if needed. Again, that's a situation that our staff works very closely with public safety and local city authorities to make sure students are getting the care that they need. Student Health Center, you can find their hours on their website. I don't know those off the top of my head, but they do have a array of staff members, physician assistants, a doctor there to help make sure students are healthy. We also have student psychological services. If students need mental health support, they are able to seek a therapist in SPCS, as what we call it is the acronym. If for whatever reason a student might need support outside of what SPCS can offer, we do have 2 case managers on campus that help students make connections to local community resources. And those local community resources can really be anything. It doesn't necessarily just have to be therapy resources. Our case managers do help a lot with students connecting, whether they need access to food resources, housing resources, etc. They're very helpful and they work outside of the Dean of Students office. And then we have the Fish Interfaith Center. The Interfaith Center is open to all faiths or people of no faith. It really is a lovely facility that has staff members that are there to support. You can look on their website to look at their services. They also have a ton of events that they facilitate during the semester. They actually recently had a sound bath meditation. I think that was yesterday. I've been to that. It's a very lovely event where you can just go relax and kind of use that time to decompress. But all the staff there are very helpful and supportive, and always welcome students to come join them. So this is just an overview of some of our campus and near campus amenities. So the Masson Family Beach Club is a pool area that is in the main residence hall area where our first year student buildings are and Davis Harris Apartments. Our off-site properties, Panther Village, Chapman Grant, and Chapman Court actually all have pools. So if students live in those areas, they have access to a pool, and living in sunny Southern California, you bet you have students out there in the month of November. It was just 87 degrees here yesterday. If you're not from Southern California or live in Southern California. And so yeah, getting out there and getting tans in November and December is something that happens here. The Henley Fitness Center, as Amanda mentioned, this is in the basement of Henley Hall, open to students. Students are always in there working out. They also facilitate workout classes. So they have cycle classes, Pilates classes. They have a whole program of things that students can get involved in to make sure that they are living a healthy lifestyle. We have a rock wall, which is located in, oh, and there goes out my light. We have a rock wall, which is located in Sandy Residence Center. So again, our folks in student engagement manage this, and students are able to utilize this facility to climb if that's something that they're interested in. In the Davis community area, we have a garden that students can plant different types of plants and tend to that. It's actually very lovely. Sometimes students sit out in the quad and just kind of enjoy the sunshine and sit in a very nice, quiet, peaceful area. Our main Orange campus isn't too far from Old Town Orange. It is a very quaint, lovely area full of restaurants, shops, coffee shops. It's a very, very vibrant community. I live in Old Town Orange and I just love walking through what is called the Circle and seeing all the people. I see students often walking with friends or at a coffee shop studying. Students really, I think, take advantage of the local businesses and spend a lot of time, hanging out with friends in the area. And then not too far, actually, from Dodge College, the dance studio is the Orange Metrolink stop. I've taken the Orange Metrolink to San Juan Capistrano, which is just south of here, which isn't too far. And I've also actually taken it to downtown Los Angeles at Union Station. So it is a really awesome public transportation opportunity for students if they maybe don't have a car and want to visit places like downtown LA or maybe go a little more south. Very easy to navigate. You just buy your ticket right there on the spot and just gotta make sure you hop on the right line. But definitely something that students can take advantage while here. All right, so that's the end of Amanda and I talking at you, and I'm gonna invite my students to join us. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right. So I'm going to have our student panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to have you all share your name, your year, hometown, major and or minors, and then what residential communities you lived in while here at Chapman.
I can kick it off. Hi, everyone. My name is Camille DeWild. I am a senior communication studies major with minors in the honors program and general music with an emphasis on piano. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. And I've lived in my first year at Chapman, I lived in Glass Hall. My second year at Chapman, I lived in the Davis apartments. My third year at Chapman, I lived at Chapman Grand. And now in my senior year, I live off campus.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. I'm a senior communication studies major and I am a leadership studies minor. I'm from Irvine, so that's about 25 minutes away from here, and I've lived in probably my freshman year here at Chapman, and then I've lived at Chapman Grand every single year since then, so I just love Chapman Grand.
Hey, I'm Tom. I'm a junior computer science major, as well as game development programming and film and media studies minors. I'm from Alamo, California, which is in the East Bay. And I have lived in Henley Hall for 3 years, which is one of the first year residential communities.
Hi everyone, my name's Emma. I'm a senior double majoring in business administration with an emphasis in marketing, as well as public relations, advertising, and entertainment marketing. I'm from Buena Park, so that's also 25 minutes away. My freshman year, I lived in the Harris Apartments, which was a special case. And then sophomore year, I was at Chapman Grand, and then last year I was an RA in Moreland, and currently I'm in Glass Hall as an RA again.
Thank you, everyone. So before I jump into our Q&A, again, if you have any specific questions for our panelists, please drop that in the Q&A and I'll make sure that we get to them or if we have time. But first, what was your favorite part about living on campus or living on campus if you currently are living on campus?
I'm happy to start. My favorite part of living on campus was kind of the community aspect of it all. I think that the distance is also a big pro because it's really easy to just like wake up really soon before my classes and go if you're that kind of person. But I really like how community focused Chapman housing is. Even like past my freshman year, just like getting to know people that were on my floor or my neighbors, or meeting someone and then realizing that they lived in the same building as me made making friends and keeping friendships a lot easier and a lot more fun.
I can go next. For me, I mean, the community is probably would be my answer. I would say my kind of sub answer within that would be just there's always stuff going um, on or around campus. I mean, RAs are putting on events. There's a University Program Board, UPB, which puts on events across campus and off campus. There's stuff going on in the circle. And I think that living on campus, um, I really enjoyed just I could be a Wednesday night, I just got out of class and there's something to do. There's always something if you can find it. And that's something I really liked about being there.
Yeah, I also agree. I feel like there's just a sense of convenience with a lot of things, just having things accessible, like the gym and the cafeteria. I feel like it's very beneficial amenities that students really take advantage of. And also again, just reiterating what they both said about commitments. I feel like for my on-campus jobs, it's just made it so much easier to be involved in those sort of things. And so, yeah.
I'll add one more thing. I feel like for me, it's taught me a lot of great life skills. I didn't really cook before coming to college, so I meal prep now, which is great. I bring like a lunch bag to work and to school sometimes, which is fun. And then since I live in an off-campus residence, Chapman Grand, it's about 10 to 15 minutes away, depending on the time of day. And so it's really taught me how to manage my time because I have to factor in the drive, the parking, and I feel like it's helped me become a lot more organized. So I feel like overall I've just learned a lot of life skills. I also didn't do my own laundry before coming to college, and so I'm really lucky I get to do my laundry in my apartment. So I feel like I'm learning a lot and having a really positive experience.
Thank you. Okay, our first question from the audience. What is one thing that Chapman has done to change your experience as a student?
Sorry, Camille, I totally cut you off, but I would say like my first thought is just what is available. I feel like freshman year, there were so many clubs and involvements that were accessible to me. I started out as a business major and then I slowly learned about the programs in Dodge, so that kind of motivated me to be a double major. And I feel like it's very flexible to be involved in so many things. I know like I was talking to one of my residents earlier and he's involved in so many clubs that it's like I don't know how he does it, but it's like very much like I think he's opened so many doors for himself, and I feel like I've seen that with the people around me and within myself. And I feel like from a career aspect, I have a lot of campus jobs and involvements that have really helped me hone in on what I want to do post grad, which I feel like very much a sense of reassurance going to Chapman because of those things.
Sorry, Camille, you were actually going before. Okay, cool. For me, I would say the way that Chapman really influenced me is things are so much more collaborative here. I think that the smaller class sizes, the way you get to know your professors more personally, and just like how close you are to like everyone in your major, like physically through the residence halls, is you get a lot more collaborative. You work, you do study groups together, you join, clubs related to your major. And I think that it really helped me grow as a student in that I got to work with other people who are doing the same thing as me, and we get to learn from each other. And we all live together, and that was really helpful freshman year because if I had a test coming up, I just go not even across the street, just like walk like for 30 seconds and I'm at my friend's dorm, and that I think that helped me grow a lot as a student.
I think too, just like how much like Chapman is on the smaller side of colleges and universities. And so I think that its size is, at least to my college experience, a really large advantage, both on the housing side of things and on like the more educational side. Because not only do you get to know a lot of the people in your major just like through your freshman year, but you get to kind of like start networking with them and getting new and exciting opportunities. And so I feel like being able to talk to other people on my floor about what they were getting involved in, what career and college aspirations they had, made getting involved a lot less scary because I wanted to do it. And so surely somebody else that I knew or like a friend of a friend probably wanted to do it too. And so those first few weeks where you're meeting a lot of people can be really helpful because maybe you'll meet somebody that's interested in the same things as you are. And then from there, things can like blossom into really awesome opportunities for your like upperclassmen experience. And I think that's really cool.
I would say for me, I've had really great professors who really care about my success, which is really nice. In high school, I didn't feel like I always had that feeling, so that's a really big change that I've seen at Chapman. And then I love all the people I've met in my classes. Camille and I are the same major, and we have a lot of the same involvements together. Since like our freshman or sophomore year. And so I feel like we become really good friends from that. It's like fun for me to walk on campus and like walk to class and like seeing friends because in high school I didn't really have that, and that's totally okay too, but it's just like now I have to like sometimes factor in like walking time to class, which is like that's really fun and exciting.
Okay, the next question is about parking, and it's a few questions. So if one of you want to maybe answer this. So can you bring your car as a first-year student? Do you need one? And then is there a parking fee for students or residents for parking?
I can take this. Yeah, so let me make sure I get everything. Parking is free for all 4 years. You can have a car if you're a freshman anywhere. You do not have to pay for it. And sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Do you need
You
a
definitely do not need a car. Um, I did not bring my car freshman year. And I think I mean, it's a different experience for everyone, but I really actually ended up appreciating not having it. It kept me closer to where my friends were. It made me get a little more creative in like how I was going to spend my time. It got me making friends because then I had to make friends with a car. So I definitely don't think you need a car freshman year or in general.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. For anyone, did you have your own room at home? And was it hard to share a small space with roommates?
I can take this one. I've always had my own room at home, and I have two younger siblings, and we're all very lucky. We've all always had our own rooms. And so, going into college, I had one of the triples with our own bathroom and trolley, and it was a little hard at first because the beds, the way they were originally, just put in the rooms, they were like close together. So we like reconfigured our room, which was fun, but it was definitely an adjustment. Like I had to learn that people have different, bathroom schedules. So we all like agreed upon like whenever we would all use the bathroom. We were all the same major, so our classes were always starting at the same time. So we all had to we said like 10 minutes each for the bathroom. So that's kind of like how I adjusted to that, but I feel like it's taught me a lot because I've never had to share a room with someone else. So it's something that I've really appreciated, and I think it's a really good life experience to have.
To kind of add on to that, not only had I never shared a room, but I'm an only child, so I had never really lived with anybody else before other than my parents, which I definitely think kind of poses like an interesting coming into college living with two other people situation. And I think that more than anything, like coming in your first year at Chapman and living in on-campus housing is a really good lesson in learning communication, and not all conflict is bad conflict. So I think the word conflict resolution is very scary to people, but just like conflict resolution, even if it's like, hey, I feel like I would like your dishes washed immediately after you use them rather than like letting them sit for 10 minutes, like learning to have conversations that can seem tricky or challenging but are for the greater good of everyone that's living there and for like your health and well-being. And so I think that living with roommates sounded really scary at first, but actually I feel like not only was it really fun, but it taught me a lot.
Just to kind of add on to that, I know Jamie mentioned like the form that you guys fill out for like your preferences, and I do want to like reiterate, do be truthful about it because I think it is very helpful. Just because Res Life does their work in matching people, and I think because Chapman wants you to have a good experience. And also going into it, even though it is scary, you do have support. You have your resident advisors on your floors that are an asset to you if you do have trouble with conflict that comes up. So even though it is a scary maybe transition in your life, there is support available and it doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah, I don't have much more else to add about that. I have a sister, but I had never shared a room with her. And when I came here, I think I had a healthy amount of growing pains, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't figure out. And I feel like the experience of most people here is they have a little bit of growing pains, but end up working it out and become stronger people to live with as a result.
Awesome. All right, so we do have a question about what campus is like on Fridays and the weekends. What's the campus feel like on the weekends? Do people go home? Do people stick around? What has been your experience?
I go home every weekend, every single weekend. But I love living on campus here at Chapman because during the week I'm involved in so many things. And so for me to be able to quickly go back to my apartment, which is very close by, it's really convenient. But then on the weekends, if I want to go home, which I do every single weekend, I get to go home, which is great because I'm really close with my family and I have a younger brother who's only in middle school. And so that's why I enjoy going home. But there's definitely been weekends where I've had a little more homework, and so I'll stay around to study with friends, or me and my girlfriends like to just go out for dinner sometimes and watch a movie when we get back. So that's what I enjoy doing on the weekends.
As an out-of-state student, I am here every weekend on campus, just because home is a little bit further away. But I think that there's always a lot to do in and around Orange. So a lot of weekends, UPB will organize like fun trips that you can go to. I know they just went to the Rose Bowl flea market, so you can do things like that, and you don't usually need a car for those either. Or there are a lot of fun things that students do in the like downtown Orange area that we call the Circle. They have a farmer's market every single Saturday. And so my freshman year, one of my friends and I's favorite things to do was to walk to the farmer's market. And there's this like fruit stand that has a lot of free samples, and like we would just like eat fruit for breakfast at the farmers market every week, and it was super fun. There are a lot of fun places to go get food, fun like antique malls to just like walk around and get lost in if you maybe don't feel like spending money. Or I have like a Disney pass, and so I had a car my freshman year and I went to Disneyland a lot on the weekends. If that's something you're more interested in, that's always a really fun option too. There's the beach. There's always something to do in Southern California, I think.
Yeah, freshman year, I was always doing stuff with my friends on the weekends. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff to just walk around and find. I think that the Circle is a really great place to just like discover stuff. A lot of the time, I mean, there would be stuff going on, but me and my friends would make our own fun, and we wouldn't even need to be going out to the Circle every night because we'd be playing board games or video games or be going somewhere else, off campus. So I think that I've never had an issue with campus being quiet or not having stuff to do on the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. Because I'm a local, I was like very familiar with the area, and so I ended up showing my friends around, which was fun. And so there is always something to do, and even if there isn't, like you're always just hanging out with your friends, or you just need a weekend to yourself. Like, there's always, yeah, like it's your free time, and it's either to chill or to study. So, yeah.
Okay, next question. What is your favorite food available in the dining hall? And then what are the on-campus markets or other like eateries that you can buy food at?
Half butter chicken. It's the best. Whenever they have butter chicken, there is a just line like longer than anything else. It is by far the greatest thing. Me and my friend, whenever one of us sees that there's butter chicken that day, we text the other immediately. But in terms of not the cafeteria, I mean, there's a few options on campus. There's Qdoba, which I really like. In the Circle, there's Pizza Press, Budokan, there's Blue Bowl. There's a lot of good food options around, both like on campus, other than just the caf, and nearby within walking distance.
I would say from calf, I generally just love any chicken that they prepare. But they honestly have like, I think 6 different meal options every like lunch and dinner, I believe. Like there's always a lot to find, and I personally love the salad bar. I always make a salad every single time. But yes, I also just always get a bagel from Einstein's in the morning because it's just so convenient. And then also recently, Chapman like was able to do like the everyday app where you can like mobile order, which is like a huge game changer for students, especially if you're on the go and like need to go to class. It is very much a time saver. And obviously Starbucks as well on campus.
My freshman year, I was trying to be gluten-free, and so I would have the gluten-free pasta all the time. So that's what I ate for the most part. But I really do love just any of the pasta dishes. And then on campus, I also love Qdoba. I have a lot of night classes, and so often like I'll go to Qdoba before my night class, and it's like perfect meal, fills me up, which is great. And then I love Starbucks. I go there too much, but it's great. And then in the circle, I love Thai Town. I almost went there today, but I ended up going to Snooze. So that was fun. I also like, I think Tommy said Butaton. I also like that place. That one's really good. There's two ramen places in the circle, Butaton and Hanano, but Butaton is better in my opinion. And then, gosh, I'm trying to think of what else I eat. There's a shabu place called Tabu Shabu. That one's really good. I could talk about this all day, but I won't. So those are my top recommendations.
Thank you. Okay, this question might be either for Emma or Tom. What year can you apply to be a resident advisor?
So you can apply starting your freshman year. It's at the beginning of your second semester. Yeah, but you can apply any year. You can be a senior and it can be your first year being an RA.
Okay, our next question is, are there any organized activities early freshman year to help encourage connection?
I can take this one. So Chapman has a organization called the University Program Board, or UPB for short. I'm on the board for it, and it's the largest student-run organization, and we basically host a lot of on-campus and off-campus events for students. And it's basically just generally a bunch of free events that you can make use of and just meet new people or just hang out with friends. For some examples of off-campus trips, I know Camille, she mentioned the trip to Rose Bowl that we recently had this past Sunday, this weekend. We're busing students to LACMA, an LA museum. We've also done discounted tickets to Disneyland and Halloween Horror Nights previous years. In terms of some on-campus events that we normally host, those like are a rotating basis. They kind of like change all the time, but we usually have like a Panther pumpkin patch where students can pick their own pumpkins. We've done pizza in the piazza where students can make their own pizza. So it definitely, there's like a range of events that our organization hosts, and it's usually free or discounted tickets for students to take advantage of. I know one of our biggest events that we did last year was a fall concert with Role Model, and this year we had it with Briston Maroney. So it's always a fun time with this organization, and definitely students can register all the time, and they're large scale events. So normally there's like roughly around 300 to 500 students that attend like most of our events for the most part. So there is capacity to accommodate everyone.
I'll add something. Our RAs and first year communities also facilitate programs in the halls to help students make connections. So that is something provided to first year students. And then we also have first year experience peer advisors. They host a series of programs in the first 6 weeks of school, and then they do a little scattered here and there throughout the fall semester and spring semester. But there's a lot going on for students to connect and integrate and make sure that they're making connections early on. Okay, we have quite a few more questions, but we're running out of time. So I'm gonna ask maybe 4 more if we have time. Okay, so our next question is about finances. So how do you afford Chapman, and do you have a monthly, do you maybe pay monthly? So maybe anyone who might be comfortable answering this question to speak on that.
I'm happy to talk about it. So for me, the finances were a huge reason that I came to Chapman. I got a pretty significant merit scholarship that covered a lot of the scarier parts of, I think, the sticker price of Chapman. And then on top of that, I was able to get extra financial aid. Beyond that, you can make tuition payments in installments, or there are always other loan options that you can figure out what works best for you as well. And then I'm also really lucky to benefit from the federal work study program. So I'm able to work. Well, I work 3 on-campus jobs, but you should only work 1. So I'm able to work on-campus jobs and make money up to my federal work study award maximum, and that money I don't have to pay taxes on. So it's like the government is giving Chapman financial aid to pay me as I work throughout the semester. And so there's definitely ways to make Chapman seem a little bit less financially intimidating.
Thank you, Camille. Okay, my next question is, oh my gosh, I lost it. Where did it go? Oh man. So sorry. This is awkward. Uh, what would you say is the largest fault in how campus living is structured, and what are your favorite parts of it?
I feel like size at Chapman can be sometimes a positive and a negative. I think sometimes when it comes to like a biggest fault, there can be occasions where like our facilities management team just doesn't have the bandwidth to address problems in every single room as fast as like they maybe come up, because there are so many rooms and so many students and only so many facilities employees, and so they kind of evaluate how that runs on a case by case and then like immediacy basis. And so I think sometimes like if you have like a light bulb out, it can be a little bit annoying that your light bulb is still out like a couple days later. But I also think that does kind of fall in the perspective of like, well, there are probably other things that maybe need more immediate attention, and there are only so many people that can come and fix things like that for you. And it is really nice. I know like my sophomore year, I would clog the disposal of my apartment a lot, and facilities was always really, really nice, and they would come in and unclog it for me. And so I think sometimes that can feel like a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's never the end of the world. And then the other part of that question was my favorite part of the on-campus communities. I feel like I addressed that earlier. I really like the size. Once again, I think it comes to a really positive point of living on campus where you can get to know everyone on your floor, and a lot of them will be in the same major as you or go to the same like college within Chapman as you, and so you can get involved and make friends that way.
Okay. I think we have maybe time for one more question. Let's see here. None of you are a bio major, correct? No. Okay. And then, okay, so in your time at Chapman with roommates, did you have a messy roommate, and how did you handle it?
I had, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I've had 2 messy roommates. So my first year at Chapman, one of my roommates was pretty messy, but she kept her stuff like in her area. It just sometimes migrated over to my area. So that was like a little annoying, but wasn't awful. It was just like I'm a very clean person, and so I think it's just like I had to learn again, like how to live with different people, which is okay. It's just I wasn't used to that, and at home for me, my family is extremely clean. We clean our house by ourselves. We don't have a house cleaner, so that was something I learned. And then my sophomore year, one of my roommates was my classmate and my best friend. And then our other roommate was a random, and so we didn't know the other girl, and she was very messy. Like sometimes the dishes in the sink, I'm like not joking, would stay in the sink for like 2 months if we actually let her keep it in the sink. And so, um, I don't like I just had to like tell her honestly and like text her or tell her to her face like, can you please clean this up with this time frame? Like be very specific. And when you live in the Chapman housing residences, you have to do a roommate agreement. I just recommend being very honest and yeah, just be honest, kind of like that questionnaire that you fill out when you're doing your roommate pairings, because you can always refer back to that if you're having issues. So yeah, I've had two bad roommates, but I've had two great roommates. So it's been a great learning experience.
Freshman year, I had a very, very messy roommate. Um, Anytime he would take a shower, he'd just leave his dirty clothes on the floor and then just let him pile up every single time. It was like past my knee in height a few times. And what I did about that, nothing, which is not what I recommend. Don't do that. Not worth it. Uh, a lot of people tend to think that, oh, it's going to be really awkward and I'm going to be like stuck living with them after and nothing's going to change now. Like either like you're going to figure it out or it was going to be awkward anyways. Like whatever like you think you're saving in like outward uncomfortableness is going to be much smaller than the actual uncomfortableness of just like the tension of being annoyed at this person for months on end and not doing anything about it.
To add something so super quickly, kind of on the other perspective, in my dorm, I was the messier roommate, and certainly not to the extent of the examples that Chloe and Tom provided. But I definitely am a very busy person, and so sometimes my laundry just doesn't get done as quickly as I would like it to, or I don't have as much time to like wash that dish in the sink right as I make it dirty as I would like to. And so for me, it's just been like my being comfortable with my roommates saying like, hey, do you mind whenever you have the chance, like can you just like get to that please, and me being like, yes, of course, absolutely, because you and your roommates should all want to live in a place that makes you all feel comfortable and happy to come home. And if you're not, that's where on-campus support resources would probably want to start getting more involved, like consulting your roommate agreement, talking with your RAs, etc.
All right, well, that brings us to time. I want to thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm sorry we did not get to some of your questions, but if you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email us at reslife, RESLIFE, @chapman.edu, and we will answer your question. You're also more than welcome to directly reach out to myself or Amanda. Our contact information can be found on the Chapman website. So if you have a question specifically for us, you can just go ahead and send us an email and we'll be sure to get back to you. But again, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.